Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today we have something brand new for you guys today for On the Hot Podcast. Today I thought about it, something new, something fresh will be coming to the podcast. This will be our first ever Combat Series episode. In the Combat Series, we'll be covering all combat sports. We'll be covering news inside the boxing world and news inside MMA and the UFC world. So I thought about it. I'm pretty good at analyzing what we do, and when it comes to big time fights, I thought we cover combat sports more than just the big time fights. And this will be a new combat series coming for you guys on a weekly basis for the podcast. So just like the weekly episodes, this combat series will be coming out on all four of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. So let's go ahead and dive into the first ever Combat Series episode 1. I will be giving my UFC 289 pay-per-view predictions for this weekend's UFC pay-per-view event. So in this video, I will be covering the co-main event and the main event of UFC 289. Starting off with the co-main event. It's going to be a lightweight fight between Charles Oliveira taking on Ben Darsh. This fight was actually supposed to take place a month ago at UFC 289 at the UFC 289 pay-per-view event. However, this fight was postponed because Charles Oliveira was out due to injury. A month later, we get this fight on a big time pay-per-view, big time card, I should say, UFC 289 between these two respective lightweights. So my tail of the tape heading into this fight: Charles Oliveira is 33-9, has the most submission wins in UFC history with 16 submission wins, and has the most stoppages in UFC history with 19 referee stoppages in his UFC career. And he is currently ranked the number 1 lightweight in the UFC today. And then I'm looking at Ben Darsh. He's 22-4-1. He's coming in this fight very, very hot. He's currently He's currently on an 8-fight win streak. And is currently the 4th best lightweight in the UFC today. As I sneeze from the bad air quality that the East Coast is experiencing. But with that being said, I do believe that the winner of this fight could get a shot at Islam Makhachev's lightweight championship in the lightweight division. But with that being said, I'm going with Charles Oliveira to win this fight. I do believe that he's going to take care of business Saturday night in the co-main event. And I have him picking up the victory by TKO. And this fight, I have him winning this fight in the second round. Charles Oliveira is just the overall better fighter than Ben Darsh. I think he's the overall better talented fighter. But he's a great submission artist. And he's deadly with his hands. He's a knockout artist as well. Two things you don't want to play with in the UFC: a great submission grappler like Charles Oliveira, and then he has the hands to knock you out. Definitely somebody you don't want to be in the octagon with. I think he's just going to be too much for Ben Darsh Saturday night. Even though that Ben Darsh is on a hot streak, like I just said a few moments ago, he's coming in this fight on an 8-fight win streak. He has just not faced the opposition that Charles Oliveira has faced in that octagon over the last few fights in the UFC. Charles Oliveira has taken care of business in this division, beating Justin Gaethje. He's beating Dustin Poirier. He's beating Michael Chandler and Ferguson. So I just don't think that Ben Darsh has seen the opposition, seen the level of competition that Charles Oliveira has seen. Over the last few fights, I just think Charles Oliveira is just going to be too much for him Saturday night. And then moving on to the main event, we're going to say the UFC Bantamweight Championship will be defended by defending undisputed champion Amanda Nunes, who will be defending her championship against Irene Aldana. So this actually, if you guys follow the UFC, this main event was actually supposed to see, I do believe, one of the what it went down as one of the greatest trilogies in UFC women's history between Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena. But unfortunately, Julia Pena was unable to compete at UFC 289. She's out due to an injury. So therefore, that I think that she pulled out of the card. She pulled out of this card last month, and then Irene Aladana became the replacement last month. So this is how we got the main event that we're going to be seeing Saturday night take place. My tail of the tape for this fight, Amanda Nunes, the double champ. I do believe. Let me say this: I do believe that Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's UFC fighter in UFC history. The accomplishments that she's had, the quick stoppages that she's had. She's just a complete animal. She's been, in my opinion, the greatest woman to ever compete in UFC history. But with that being said, the double champ Amanda Nunes, she is the double champion. She's the champion of the bantamweight division, and she's the champion of the featherweight division right now in women's UFC. She's currently 22-5, and she's overall a 3-time UFC champion, 2 times in the bantamweight division, 1 time in the featherweight division. Irene Aladana is 14-6, and she has won the last 4 out of 5 fights of her and her respective career and her UFC career over the last 4 to 5 fights. With that being said, I'm going with Amanda Nunes to win this fight to retain her bantamweight title by decision. I do believe that this fight will go all 5 championship rounds in the UFC this weekend. I think just Amanda Nunes just has too many weapons to her toolbox, too many weapons to her repertoire to keep Irene Aladana guessing the whole entire night. She's a good knockout artist. Just ask Ronda Rousey. Just ask Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm. She has knocked them out and made it look like it's a piece of cake, like a cakewalk. She is a great grappler as well. Don't get it mixed up just because she has great dangerous knockout hands. She's a great grappler as well. I don't think she's gonna have a problem with keeping this fight on the ground if needed Saturday night against Irene Aladana. But those are my predictions for UFC 289. We'll see what transpires in the co-main event and the main event for this weekend's pay-per-view card.